New York at this hour. We're awaiting the first court appearance of the suspect in the tragic shooting last night in Washington, D.C. Two young people killed in cold blood, shot dead outside the Capitol Jewish Museum. The suspect, a Chicago man in his early 30s, who shouted, "Free, free Palestine," as he was taken into custody, will likely make his initial appearance in federal court this afternoon. When he was arrested, he implied to police that he was the person who'd shot the victims. The victims' names are Yaron Lashinsky and Sarah Milgram, two Israeli embassy staffers who were attending a museum event focused on humanitarian aid for Gaza. Earlier, the ambassador revealed Yaron bought an engagement ring this week and planned to propose to Sarah next week in Jerusalem. It's another one of those crushing details in a tragedy so woefully full of them. Listen to how last night's events unfolded from the perspective of those who witnessed them.
We heard gunshots coming from outside, and we didn't really understand what's going on. And then a man came in, and he looked very scared.
He was saying to call the police. At this point, everyone thinks he's a witness. And then he was inside the museum for about 10 to 15 minutes with us. They had, at that point, shut the doors to the museum inside and outside, so folks could not leave, folks could not enter. But this man, who we assumed was a witness, was in the museum with us for about 10 to 15 minutes, as my friends are trying to calm him down. And those are the folks, offering him water, asking if he's okay. And then one of them asked, "Hey, do you know where you are?"
About 5-10 minutes after he enters the museum, the cops start to enter the space. He immediately walks up to the cop. He turns himself in. He says, I did this for Gaza. And he starts his Free Palestine chant. Free Palestine, there's only one solution, Intifada revolution.
Of course, the broader story is incomplete without making clear the reality that many Jewish Americans feel and live with right now in this moment, a reality of fear and anxiety and worry and vulnerability and threats. As such, Jewish places of worship across our country today fortified security measures, including here in New York City, where NYPD deployed its Critical Response Command. That's a highly trained, highly armed unit that trains for these exact scenarios. But it isn't just here. Israelis in Jerusalem today voiced concern over their safety when they're abroad. At a press briefing today, Israel's foreign minister said he is very worried about similar attacks on Israeli diplomats at embassies across the globe, suggesting there have been other incidents over the last few months and weeks. It's where we start today with former Congressman Ted Deutch. He is the CEO of the American Jewish Committee, the group that was hosting the event where the killings took place. Congressman, thank you for being here.
Thanks, Nicole.
Congressman, what can you add to our understanding of what happened?
Well, it's a really important question. The answer is it's impossible to understand what happened here. And look, from a factual standpoint, there are investigations ongoing. The Trump administration, the mayor of Washington, the Bowser administration have both been incredible in the way that they've pursued this, the serious way that they're approaching this to find out exactly what happened here. We obviously need to learn much, much more than we already know. But there is no explaining what happened. This is the worst fears of the Jewish community coming to fruition. This is what happens, Nicole, when people march in the streets in support of terrorists, chant the slogans of terrorists, globalize the Intifada as a slogan that calls for death, celebrates the slaughter of people in Israel, celebrates or refuses to stand up and acknowledge that it's now almost 600 days that 58 hostages continue to be held. This is what happens when words and anti-Semitic statements aren't confronted. This is the violence that we expected. We have to come together now to make sure that this is the kind of thing that we never, ever see again. We can't tolerate anti-Semitism and hatred that leads to this violence.
And that is the work, from this day forward, but I don't want to lose sight of these victims. No. They sound like extraordinary human beings. I'm going to play for you some of NBC's interview with Sarah's dad.
Sarah's a wonderful girl, and she was as close to perfect as any human could be. She had a passion for learning, she had a passion for the environment, and she had a passion for Israel. And she was recently very much in love with Yaron.
I want to read a little bit more about Sarah, and then we'll talk about Yaron, Congressman. Sarah worked in the Department of Public Diplomacy. That's according to her own LinkedIn page. She graduated with a master's degree in international affairs from American University and another master's in natural resources and sustainable development from the University for Peace. Prior to working at the embassy, she worked with Tech to Peace in Tel Aviv, where she conducted research on peace building and grassroots initiatives in the Israeli-Palestinian region. A young diplomat who'd devoted all of her professional work and her studies to peace.
I'm so grateful. So grateful that you shared that. Look, Sarah's also someone that Sarah and Yaron both are people that the AJC knew well. And in Sarah's case, all of the good work that you described, the incredible person that her father described, was someone that we saw through her involvement with us in all of the ways that she worked to help build bridges, to help find ways to bring people together across the region in the Middle East. Last night's event was an event focused on exactly that, on finding ways to bring people together. And so we should rededicate ourselves, I think all of us, to acting to honor the memory of Sarah and Yaron by doing the kind of work that she so deeply believed in, the work that Yaron worked on at the embassy, again, to think about and to work toward a peaceful world. The people who hate Jews, Nicole, the people who so despise Jews and Israel that they wind up committing horrific acts like this, they're trying to tear the world apart. And that's not who we are as a Jewish community. It's not who we are as Americans. I'm so grateful to you for letting the world understand really how tragic last night's events were and the loss that we all feel today.
Well, I learned when I was in the position of speaking to families whose loved ones, a lot of young people were taken hostage or murdered after the terrorist attack on October 7th. It is often the young people who are the ones in their country trying to make it different and trying to address concerns about the children and the civilians in Gaza. And I wonder how you counsel people to lift up the people who are devoting their life. I mean, these were diplomats. These were Israeli diplomats in America who were at an event that was focused on, as I understand it, it's your event, so you correct me if I have this wrong,
no.
How to get humanitarian aid to the children and the civilians in Gaza without Hamas sort of interceding and causing more harm. How do you let their work? That was Sarah and Yaron's focus last night when they were murdered in cold blood. How do you lift up that work in a climate where everything you talked about seems to be going in the wrong direction? There have been more than 10,000 anti-Semitic incidents in the year after the terrorist attack of October 7th.
Yeah, you're right. The program last night was on humanitarian diplomacy. There's nothing that we could speak of that offers a more hopeful future than that. And then this awful tragedy that occurred just after the event ended. How do we hold up this work? You're so right. It's really the young people who are involved at AJC, who last night was an event where we had not just young Jews, but we had young diplomats from across Washington, D.C., all of whom came together as friends, as allies, all committed to working to strengthen the bridges that should be built between us. We help young people at a moment like this we have to by rededicating ourselves to this work. At AJC, we fight anti-Semitism, and we're going to continue to do that. People need to speak out and in every way that they can. But at the same time, we also work to create a world where Israel's place in the region is normalized, and where all of the countries can exist and work in collaboration with one another. It's the reason why the Abraham Accords was so important. It's the reason why AJC has an office in Abu Dhabi to go along with our office in Jerusalem to do this work. We have to continue to do this work. We encourage everyone in order to help honor the memory of these young souls who were taken from us, ripped away from us, to honor their memory by continuing to engage in this really critical work for the benefit of the Jewish community in Israel, but for the benefit of the broader region and the world. That's what we should all be striving for.